Just because your parents are famous doesn't mean that you always get along. Welcome to Beyond the Screen, I'm Nate, and these are 10 Nepo Babies who disowned their celebrity parents. Number 10, Miley Cyrus. This one's pretty straightforward. Hannah Montana herself, Miley Cyrus, disowned her father Billy Ray after he decided to marry a woman who was on the show Hannah Montana with Miley when she was in her teens. Billy Ray had a stellar country career before Miley got her own show, and some would argue that as time's gone on, she started to outshine her dad. I'm just kidding, there's no argument, she is definitely more famous than her father now. Billy decided to pull a weird move and started dating a woman named Fire Rose, who acted alongside Miley on Hannah Montana. Miley stopped speaking to her father the moment she saw them together, especially after she discovered how much Billy spends on her jewelry and overall gifts. Number 9, Abigail Hopkins. The daughter of Anthony Hopkins used to be spotted with her father constantly. From the time that she was little to her early 20s, she would accompany her dad at red carpet events and film premieres, getting to spend some time with Hollywood's best and brightest. However, the two have not spoken in like 20 years, being bitterly estranged this entire time. In fact, Anthony and his daughter Abigail are so far removed from each other that Anthony recently said he didn't know if she had any kids and didn't care. He also said that he had no idea where she even lived, like he just really doesn't care about his own kid. The tragedy in her life started early when her father divorced her birth mother as a child, and she started living with her mom because Anthony was just never home and he was usually under the influence of something. He became so enamored by No Juice, it took over his life, and his role as a parent was basically non-existent. In this case, they kinda disowned each other. Number 8, all of Brangelina's kids. Well, there's been a lot of stuff being released about Brad Pitt and his adoptive kids this week, and it seems like they may have disowned him for pretty good reasons. Brad's adoptive son, Pax, has gone on record to say that his dad is an a-hole who makes his kids tremble in fear. In an Instagram post, he ranted about Brad's role in his life, and according to him, Brad is just an unhinged man who can snap at a moment's notice. He wrote that Brad made the lives of those closest to him a living hell, and he wrote, "Happy Father's Day, you effing awful human being," that Brad Pitt has time and time again proven himself to be a terrible, despicable person and has no consideration or empathy towards his youngest children who tremble in fear when they're in his presence. He will never understand the damage that he's done to his family because he is incapable of doing so. Brad responded to the comments, acting like a parent, saying that he was disappointed in his kids feeling they had to drag his name through the mud. Pax didn't say if there was a specific event that caused the rant, but considering the split that took place between him and Brangelina in 2016, the rant is more than likely not baseless and probably has some darker truths behind it. Number 7, the Kardashians. Now I know what you're thinking, how could any of the Kardashians disown their parents? Who else would it be other than Caitlyn Jenner? When the new Kardashian series on Hulu was announced, she expressed her joy for the family, but simultaneously her disappointment with the way things have turned out family-wise. She was there when the journey first started on the very first episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians and watched it grow for almost 20 seasons. One of the highlights of her life. And the show was canceled in 2020, but only 3 months later the family signed a new contract to make global content exclusively with Hulu. The Kardashian-Jenner crew have all but disowned Caitlyn, as not only was she not included in the series, but apparently she hasn't spoken to her kids since 2020. Number 6, Hayley Hasselhoff. Being the daughter of the guy from Baywatch sounds like it's the coolest thing in the world, right? Spending long days on the beach, the sun beaming, you get to meet SpongeBob. It's wonderful. But as it turns out, it's actually extremely difficult, and it comes with its own set of issues. Hayley was born in 1992 when David Hasselhoff was at the height of his career. Being on Baywatch alone brought in over 1 billion viewers. Hayley had a lot of advantages. Not only was her dad famous, but she grew up in a really nice part of Hollywood, having the film Clueless literally filmed in the house next door. Unfortunately, being born into that kind of environment has left Hayley anxious and mentally struggling when she was growing up. During an interview with People, she explained that she had hardcore social anxiety growing up and found it paralyzing to go to school. She ate to cope with the anxiety, and when she was 11, she was mistreated for her weight. Growing up in Hollywood really just didn't help. She said it was an environment where people wanted to fit in rather than stand out, being surrounded by fakers. As time went on, she wanted to be a part of her father's work, but she was exposed to the dark side of Hollywood when David's no juice habits took over his life. She stopped speaking to her father regularly around that time, and her parents divorced, and these days she works in her own world of fashion modeling, small screen cameos, and of course, sharing body positivity messages. So, good for her. Number 5, Jamie Lynn Spears. Both of the Spears sisters have been through a rough go. Mom loves no-no juice, and dad's a menace to this planet, but Jamie takes the spot on this list because she's actually disowned her entire family, Brittany included. Growing up with her sister in the spotlight was never easy for Jamie, even after she got cast to be the lead of the show Zoe 101, which is, I genuinely thought she was more famous than Brittany when I saw that show. But it turns out that was just a ploy to gain her parents' approval. Instead of gaining that approval, she got a taste of what her sister had to deal with. Her parents were just happy that there was more money coming into their pockets. The older Jamie got, the more complicated life became. When Brittany was under her conservatorship, she did everything that she could to be on her parents' side and make Brittany feel worse, even writing a tell-all book before Brittany did. She has never publicly disowned them or signed any paperwork, but she is also a grown woman now and just really doesn't need to do any of that. Number 4, Jack Quaid. You may know Jack from quite a few projects in the past few years. I personally know him best as Huey on the incredible Amazon series The Boys, but he's actually been carving a path for himself, appearing in movies like Scream from 2022, Oppenheimer, and even The Hunger Games. This man is a true treat, but I honestly didn't know that he came from famous parents, and then I saw who his dad was and I felt like a moron, a feeling that I get fairly often. His parents are Dennis Quaid from The Parent Trap and Meg Ryan from every rom-com starring Tom Hanks. You would think being the son of two very well-respected performers would mean that life is but a breeze, but Jack actually decided to distance himself from his family and do his own thing. He knew he wanted to be an actor from a young age and follow in his parents' footsteps. Thankfully, he grew up in a house where that was a real job prospect and they were all for it. But Jack knew that he had an advantage over everyone else and he didn't want to misuse that privilege. In fact, Dennis tried to get him an agent, but Jack refused to accept the help. He eventually found an agent and made his on-screen debut in the first Hunger Games movie. He didn't have a ton of lines, but he was very present throughout most of the runtime. Eventually, he made his way to Amazon, and the rest is history. Still being made. Number 3, Ireland Baldwin. The daughter of Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger has been through a lot of ups and downs with her parents. Her father is well known for being a bit loud and unnecessarily mean to his daughters, and for, mishandling props. Her father famously left her a voicemail calling her an ungrateful pig and a bunch of other things that I can't quote, but it actually isn't the phone call that strained her from her parents. It was a medical situation. While making an appearance on the now canceled talk show Red Table Talk, she got candid about her parents and her upbringing. Like many Hollywood kids, she was filled with anxiety and had a deep-rooted fear that people were out to get her or just wanted to simply be with her to be with her parents. This especially made it hard for her to individualize from her parents. She continued to reveal that she had a lot of body image issues growing up and still does, despite being a high-paid model. The divorce between Kim and Alec was difficult, and Ireland was dragged into it, creating a toxic environment at home that left her struggling even more than she already was. She stopped speaking to her parents and created her own career outside of her family. Number 2, Suri Cruise. Despite sharing a child with his ex-wife Katie Holmes, Tom Cruise has not seen his daughter Suri in over 10 years, according to online sources. The reason being, well, they just don't share the same religious beliefs. Tom is a member of the scientific community, if you know what I mean, and his daughter just isn't. When he divorced from Katie, he was informed that he was not allowed to keep in contact if the family did not want to be involved with his views. And on top of this, in recent years, it's been revealed that Tom doesn't even view Suri as his daughter. She is merely a spiritual being inside the body of his daughter. Jeez. At least that's what a book says. Tom says the reason he hasn't spoken to his daughter is because of his busy work schedule. The initial 100-day absence that was reported in the early 2010s was apparently due to Tom filming in London. It was impossible to just see his daughter, but Suri has not come forward publicly to speak out about her dad. Then again, she isn't even in her 20s yet, so why don't we just let her keep her privacy for now? And number 1, Elijah Blue. Musician and artist Elijah Blue opened up about his life being the son of one of the greatest musicians of all time, Cher. Elijah told the people at ET that there were times growing up he felt shunned by his parents, being sent to a boarding school at the age of 7. I didn't know those things were real. I always thought that they just made them up in movies to scare kids, so that's messed up. It's no wonder that he felt abandoned. His mom was Cher, and while she was out touring the world, he was living in a school. That is a nightmare I regularly have. As time has gone on, he has come to terms with his position and accepted it fully, but just because he's accepted it, it doesn't mean that it's okay. He said while in boarding school, he'd fly home to see his family in New York on vacations. Well, not his family. He would fly in and throw his stuff down just to leave the house and visit his friends. At an early age, he partook in narcotics and no-no juice that left him rebellious. In his time being a rebel, he developed a case of Lyme disease that forced him to seek treatment in Germany. And he has actually been thankful for that experience because he met his current wife while in Germany. So that's cute. When he was home with his parents, he remembers the house always being full of other people. Not love-making sessions and no-no stuff and rock and roll, but still big parties with lots of adults. As time went on, he spoke less and less with his family, but was still able to create a career for himself. Those are some Nepo babies that disowned their families. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like down below. Follow our channel for more celebrity content every day, and thank you for stopping beyond the screen. See you next time.